Chapter 377. Thea was a little impatient after sitting for a while. She changed into her water armor. She did not show her fastest speed when she was carrying Fiora last time. She wanted to test how fast she was underwater. "I didn't expect you to swim so fast." Mira, the Sea King, who also did not ride a dolphin but relied on her own ability to swim, was shocked by Thea's sudden burst of speed. Although it was far from the trident-wielding Sea King, it was very close to Mira's speed. "I'll compete with you in swimming." Mira did not have a smooth day. She could not see the feelings between human women. She felt that her husband was an indomitable spirit. The Arabian woman Casina, the brown-skinned wild child Yawala, Thea, and Diana were all threats to her position. Among them, the unusually active Thea was the biggest threat. She could not win on land, but she did not think she would lose in the sea. Thea did not think so much. There was no need to set the rules or ask for a judge. Both of them were ready to swim forward at the same time. She relied on the armor to provide power. Mira also had almost unlimited physical strength in the sea. Both of them shot out at the same time like an arrow released from a bow. Mira quickly took the lead with her skillful movements. Thea instructed Gideon to scan her movements, the angle of entry, and the frequency of her body swaying. After that, the simulation was optimized and applied to the armor. Mira's speed quickly caught up. "You learned so fast?" Mira did not know about the existence of artificial intelligence. She saw Thea's familiar movements, which were very obviously mimicking her swimming posture. She thought that Thea had learned it after seeing it once. She was shocked. This mainlander's learning ability was too scary. Although she was shocked, she was still far from being convinced. Mira mobilized a large amount of seawater to give herself a push. Her speed increased by 30%. So it could be played like this. Thea felt that she had learned another trick. This time, she did not use Gideon. Although she did not use it usually, she still had the water attribute. She imitated Mira and gathered a large amount of water magic behind her to push herself forward. 1,500 nautical miles, 1,600 nautical miles, 1,650 nautical miles. The propulsion effect was immediate. Gideon truthfully reported her speed, which finally stopped at nearly 1,700 nautical miles per hour. Mela sensed that she was catching up to her again and could only increase her speed as fast as she could. Thea followed behind her unhurriedly. When they reached the Death King's island and everyone came ashore, Thea was still in high spirits. Mela was so tired that her face was pale. She soaked in the sea alone for a long time before she could catch her breath. "You fought with her again?" Diana asked Thea softly as she looked at Mela's pale face. "No, I was just following behind her. From the beginning to the end, I didn't surpass her. I have to say that she swam really fast." Thea acted as if nothing had happened. She did not use any energy at all. She was using the armor's energy source. She was also puzzled. Thea did not know that it was this, from the beginning to the end, that forced Mela to use the fastest speed in her life. The Sea King also did not understand why his wife was swimming so hard. He asked about her well-being and Mela's legs were trembling. However, she pretended as if nothing had happened and pulled the Sea King to show off their affection. Unfortunately, other than her, there were 4 women present who had indescribable relationships with each other. As for the remaining 3 men, one was severely autistic while the other was half crazy because of being haunted by ghosts. The only normal one was the old detective. However, the old man was 70 years old and his grandson was 20 years old. He could not understand Mela's good intentions. Mela spread a bunch of dog food on the spot and found that the onlookers were stable and did not have any excessive reactions. She felt that she had punched empty air and followed the others to the island. The island was not big. If they did not walk close to it, even the Eye of Horus would not be able to discover the island. The plants on the island were very sparse. There was a mountain that was not too tall in sight. From time to time, dark red magma would flow out. The entire island was shrouded in a layer of invisible black smoke due to the high temperature. The few of them entered the cave on the side of the mountain. The cave was very deep. Along the way, everyone seemed to have lost interest in talking and carefully walked deeper into the cave. After walking for an hour through the winding bends, the view in front of them suddenly opened up. A high platform of man-made sculptures appeared in front of Thea. On the platform stood a huge throne. Behind the throne, there were 4 female statues that were either looking up or bowing their heads. The Sea King pointed to the female statues and said, "Back then, the artifacts in their hands were placed on those statues." Thea observed for a while. The god of death had fallen into a deep sleep. This island was just a diversion to hide the news of his death. The layout was not complicated. Or rather, the era he lived in was still pursuing the huge amount of magical power. The precision of the use of magic was far inferior to modern magic. You guys find 3 artifacts randomly and use them. Don't release them. I will find the frequency of the resonance and we can open the secret compartment. Vala took out her golden transmission bead first. Cassina also took out the golden seal that was snatched by the black manta ray. The Sea King raised the trident in his hand. The fluctuations of the 3 artifacts were very similar. Thea used her heart to feel the difference between them. Her hands moved slightly to adjust the resonance of the 3 artifacts. Finally, at a certain point, the 3 artifacts reached a very strange wave band. An invisible breeze swept in all directions. The female statue behind the throne slowly separated, and a golden staff slowly rose from it. The staff was 2 meters long and golden all over. It could be seen that the initial shape of the staff was very similar to a trident. However, later on, the trident was artificially combined into one. The 2 sides were extremely sharp. Upon closer inspection, there was an ancient text engraved on it. This staff was very similar to the staff in a game that Thea remembered, the Golden Staff of Sindorii. Thea looked back at everyone. Seeing that no one had any opinions, she reached out and took the staff. The staff neither rejected her nor took the initiative to cater to her. The sky changed color, the wind and clouds surged, but none of these appeared. Only a faint image was transmitted to Thea. In the image, an old man was betrayed. After that, he created an artifact and returned to his country for revenge. After being betrayed by everyone, the old man angrily hit the magic node with the staff, causing the destruction of the ancient Atlantis Empire. This old man was the god of death, Atlan? Thea compared it with her memory and sighed. It was a pity. He had a good idea to eliminate war and accommodate all foreign races. However, he was betrayed by his family and turned from a great hero to a devil in an instant. Just as Thea was about to carefully study the functions of the staff, she heard a loud shout. "People from the surface! Put down the treasure in your hand. That is the sacred artifact of Atlantis." A large group of strangely dressed soldiers surrounded a young man holding a halberd and wearing a finned helmet walked in. Chapter 378. Where did this retard come from? Call it and see if it will answer you. Thea's strength had increased now, so she was not as cautious as before. Since the other party was rude, she would fight back. "People from the surface." Before the young man with the helmet and halberd could finish his sentence, Thea turned her staff around and a dark golden lightning shot towards him. He didn't know what was real and what was not, so he cautiously dodged the attack. However, he underestimated Sia's combat experience. Just as he raised his leg and took 2 steps to the left, he saw a sharp spike suddenly rise from the ground. Coincidentally, it was aimed at his indescribable thing. The young man was shocked. He no longer cared about his demeanor and directly fell back, avoiding this fatal attack. The spike avoided the greaves at a tricky angle and cut a big wound on his inner thigh. Blood was dripping. A few of his subordinates quickly helped him up. "Let go." The young man was very unhappy. His helmet had also fallen off, revealing a somewhat dignified face. His originally flashy clothes were now covered in mud because he fell to the ground. The leg guards on his cloak were also stained with blood. His originally arrogant aura had been forcefully reduced by half. "How dare you attack me?" The young man gritted his teeth and said. Thea replied scornfully, "Retard." The staff in her hand accumulated energy again. This was not a game. It was impossible to tell the user the attributes of a piece of equipment. The specific functions of the staff needed to be tested. "Stop, all of you stop." The Sea King Arthur Curry stood in the middle and stopped the two sides from continuing to fight. Seeing him jump out to be the leader, Thea went with the flow and continued to study the staff. This young man appeared here. He was wearing a fish helmet and holding a halberd. Combined with the strange soldiers behind him, it was not difficult to guess his identity. See Lord Amu, Arthur Curry's half-brother and his most direct competitor for the throne. The two brothers were very similar to Thor, and Loki from Marvel Next Door. The only difference was that the older brother was a mixed blood, while the younger brother was a pureblood. At Marvel Next Door, the older brother was a pureblood, while the younger brother was a mixed blood. There were too many similarities. The elder brother was reckless, and the younger brother was cunning. The elder brother didn't want the throne, but the throne automatically fell on his head. The younger brother wanted the throne, but he couldn't get it no matter what. Thea scoffed at this kind of melodramatic love and hate. As long as the other party didn't provoke her, she wouldn't meddle in other people's business. You're following me. The Sea King wasn't stupid. He immediately figured out the cause and effect. Mu pointed at Sia, and with a swipe of his finger, he included a large group of people. Arthur, you actually gave all the artifacts of Atlantis to these surface people. You don't deserve to be called the ruler of the seven seas. Thea looked at him with a smile and didn't say anything. Originally, only Diana was standing beside her. But now, due to Amu's aggressive actions, a few of the Sea King's companions instantly stood on his side. They didn't care about the divine artifact, but Amu wanted to take it back just like that. Nobody could tolerate it. Mara hesitated. Amu wanted to steal her husband's throne, so she couldn't support him. She looked left and right, but there was no other choice. She also stood on Thea's side. The negotiation between Amu and the Sea King broke down after a few words. In his heart, Sia was only powerful because of the artifact. The few surface people were like weak chickens in his eyes. He waved his hand and commanded his subordinates, "Kill those surface people. The artifact must belong to Atlantis. Don't hurt them." The Sea King Arthur Curry hurriedly shouted. In fact, he was afraid that Thea and the others wouldn't hold back their strength. The soldiers in front of him were all his people. Mu misunderstood the subject of his sentence. He thought that his wild brother was worried about his friends. He grinned and held his halberd, wanting to entangle the Sea King. But after the two brothers exchanged two blows, he realized that something was wrong. He saw his subordinates rushing forward in a hurry. Then, they were beaten back as if they were riding on clouds. Screams of pain could be heard endlessly. The Atlantean armor that usually had excellent defensive capabilities seemed to be non-existent. A few of his subordinates were sent flying dozens of meters away. There was a hint of misery in their screams. "Are you kidding me?" Mu stretched his neck and looked to the side while he was fighting. The one-sided situation that he had predicted had indeed occurred, but it was his side that had the advantage. He saw a valiant woman holding a sword and a shield send his elite guards flying one by one as if she was throwing rubbish. Only his guard captain lasted 3 moves, but Diana also took special care of him and broke one of his legs with a kick. The guard captain, who used to be extraordinarily brave, was now hugging his leg and howling in grief. "These guys aren't strong." Diana told Thea the truth. In her eyes, these guys were not much stronger than the German devils she fought before. "That's because you're much stronger than before." Thea could only explain it this way. In her eyes, these elite Atlantean soldiers were quite powerful. She could easily take out tens of thousands of them and beat up the armies of other countries. The only flaw was that only a small number of soldiers could fight in the water. These small number of soldiers had to bring special breathing equipment. Otherwise, they would not be able to fight. Regardless of whether Atlantis leaders wanted peace or war, their bodies were no longer suitable for living on the surface. Conquering the land and restoring the glory of the past was just a dream talk. People on the surface are so powerful? This woman is Greek? Amazon? Mu almost broke down. He finally realized what the Sea King meant when he said not to hurt people. He was so ashamed that he wanted to find a hole to hide in. He tried hard to keep his mind calm. Then, he carefully observed Diana's appearance and equipment. There was no doubt that she had a full set of divine weapons. However, the forging style was obviously different from the Atlanteans. Unlike Arthur Curry, who was a wild child, Amu and even Mela were members of the royal family who had received strict education. It was true that Amu was arrogant, but he still had a basic sense of identification. After careful observation, it was not difficult to notice the difference between Diana's appearance and that of the current humans. "Take your men and leave this place now." The Sea King looked around and found that most of the soldiers had superficial injuries. They would recover after 2 days of recuperation in the water. He nodded at Diana to express his gratitude and turned his head to order Inu loudly. Mu was a lone commander. He needed this to get out of the embarrassing situation. He snorted and ran away with his defeated subordinates. Sigh. The Sea King sighed. There were too many troublesome things. The people on the surface did not accept him, and the people on the bottom of the sea were rejecting him. He was like a rat in a bellows, suffering from both sides. Everything here was over. He held Mela's hand and bade farewell to the others. Thea looked at the scene. There was no explanation document, so she could only go back and study the functions of the staff. She also left the cave with Diana and the others. The cave that was in full swing just now regained its tranquility as if nothing had happened.